A few things about myself. As Assistant Director of Admission, I've been at the college for the past 8 years, and I have had the opportunity to see folks go through this college search process and figure out what kind of institution is going to be the right fit for them. This is the first year that we have had to do it in this kind of scenario. I know it's a little unusual for a lot of us, but there's still, I think the hunt is still the same. I think the things that we're looking for when we're looking at college experiences, there's still a lot of similarities between what folks were looking at before. And so when you start looking at colleges, I encourage you to feel free to ask the questions that you feel are the best fit for you and your college search. And if you have any of those, drop them in the Q&A button. I will try to get to all of them over the course of this presentation. If I can't, hey, we will have a counselor follow up with you by the end of the week, and we'll get some of those questions answered then. In the meantime, let's talk for a little bit about what the college is, a few things about our history. I'm going to mention something called the K plan. You're going to hear me mention that a lot when we're talking about the college experience we offer, but then also what students do after they graduate from K, and then a little bit about how we bring people into our campus community and how we make the admission and financial aid process, how make the financial aid process really affordable for folks, and then some of the next steps. So let's start by talking a little bit about the history of Kalamazoo. We've been around since 1833. That makes us one of the 100 oldest colleges and universities in the US. We were initially founded as a Frontier Baptist college. I usually throw that out as an initial fact for folks at the very beginning. Although currently we are not affiliated or attached to any faith tradition. So we're a standard small liberal arts campus. We have also been thinking very intentionally about how we create a liberal arts education experience for our students. And so as we started to think really intentionally about what that looked like, we started to refer to it as the K plan. And part of that college experience includes study abroad, which we are going to talk a lot about. It's one of the main, it's one of the interesting features about the college experience, and we've had that as a standard for over the past 50 years. So today, our campus community is a little bit under 1,500 students. They come from all over the country and all over the world. It looks like, Eleanor, you're back with us. Take yourself off mute and let us know a little bit about where you're from.
Can you hear me now?
You are great now.
Awesome. Okay, I'm Eleanor. I'm a sophomore here at K. I am an intended computer science and biology double major. I am involved with the Office of Admission, as well as places, groups on campus that work with our growing spaces, so our gardens and our on-campus greenhouse, as well as I work in Office of Residential Life as an RA virtually right now.
Oh, and did you already say where you were from? You mentioned Lansing. Okay, yeah. So fun bit of trivia for everybody who's watching. I was Eleanor's admission counselor. And wow, sometimes I just realized how old I am. It's okay. But hey, our campus community is a little bit under 1,500 students. They come from all over the world. 60% of our students come from in the state of Michigan, like Eleanor, but we also have a significant population of students outside of the state of Michigan. We also have a significant international student population, a little bit under 9% this year. And we are NCAA Division III. So we have 18 teams, about 23% of our student population are currently playing for a varsity team on campus. You can look at the numbers here and you can see some really interesting things about the kind of college experience that we offer. Classes are really small. It's a 13-to-1 student faculty ratio, but it also means that we're the kind of college experience where we want students to be able to connect with professionals and researchers who are at the top of their fields, It helps for a lot of reasons, especially when we start talking about research, but then we also want students to be able to feel like they can come in their first year, be successful, and come back for a second. That's why our retention rate is so high. And then we also love to see our students graduate. So Eleanor, love having you around, but we really want to make sure you graduate on time. So Eleanor, tell us a little bit about your first year. Like, what were the classes that you took, and do you remember your first term?
Yes, so I definitely came into K not knowing at all what I wanted to study. So I took an introductory biology class, one of two, which is called Evolution and Genetics. I took a first year seminar, which all first years are required to take in the first term of their first year. Mine was called Dissent, Sites of Protest in the Digital Age. We studied protest movements and metrics of protest movements. It was really interesting. And then I also took Econ 101. And very quickly figured out that was not something I was interested in majoring in. So stuck around to biology, but decided to give up the econ.
So some of what Eleanor's talking about is tied into this conversation about how do we make college the kind of college experience at K where and the kind of college experience where people figure out what they're going to become. So as opposed to other colleges or universities where you have to apply into specific colleges, and then you're almost essentially locked into that college experience or that major. Here at K, we want to make sure it's much more flexible for you and that we make it easier for you to discover what your interests are in college. A few more things I want to mention about Kalamazoo. We're in Southwest Michigan, so that puts us about halfway between Chicago and Detroit. County population is about 264,000, but the student population is about 30,000. We are right next door to Western Michigan University. We're also close to Kalamazoo Valley Community College. So for the size of the city and the county, we have a very significant college student population. And I know that as folks are thinking about their college search, definitely some of you are also thinking about the place in the city where you're going to be doing college. Kalamazoo is definitely a significant city in the Midwest. So whether it comes to some of the museums or some of the entertainment that people want to do over the weekends, we have some amazing things going on with outdoor recreation and parks. Everyone in the admission office has their pick a favorite restaurant. I know my favorite one is Martini's. It's an awesome pizza place. How about you, Eleanor? What's your pick?
Can't say that I am very well versed in Kalamazoo restaurants, but my mom takes me to food dance when she comes to town, so that's been a favorite, at least in my family.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So, and I think that's almost like a standard, right, for a lot of students when their parents come to town. Like you tell your parents to take you over to food dance. But there are a lot of options like that for folks who are looking for an actual city to kind of live in and take up space in. But it's also an interesting space for folks who are looking for or who are looking to build their career. So Kalamazoo was mentioned once in the survey as one of the top places for entry level or for young entry level or people who are young entry-level professionals, sorry. So some of our major employers include 2 level 1 trauma hospitals. We're also home to Pfizer and Stryker. Pfizer, major pharmaceutical company, engineering companies, paper mills, lots of stuff happening just in the city of Kalamazoo or in the area. But then once you expand it out to Southwest Michigan, some of those options increase even more. I know for some folks, like the idea of making sure that you're able to get an internship and have one that's local is really important. We have a great career and professional development program that works with students to make sure that you're able to have access to some of those experiences. But let's talk a little bit more about the K plan. Those different expectations that we have of students who come into our campus community and the expectations that we want them to have of us. What we want them to be able to say that they've done and completed by the time they graduated. So Eleanor has already talked about the first part of the K plan when she was talking about like some of the things that she was doing in her first term. So that means all of our students have to declare a major, but when they declare their major, they don't have to do it until the winter of their second term. Eleanor, remind me again, what was your major? Because you declared already, right?
No, because I'm a sophomore, I don't declare until the winter term.
Oh, that's right.
Year, so I will hopefully declare a double major in biology and computer science week 5 of winter term.
Mm-hmm. Actually, hang on for just a second. Well, what language are you taking or planning on taking?
So I actually tested out of my world language proficiency requirement. I took, I think, 5 or 6 years of Spanish in high school, or middle school and high school. And so I was able to actually test out of that requirement. But I did end up taking a Spanish class last spring to sort of refresh my skills.
Cool. Yeah. So we have 9 languages that we offer. So we offer 9 languages, and yet you definitely can test out if you get to a certain level. We do ask that people take placement exams for languages, world languages, math, and chemistry. So we want to make sure that you start off in the level that's the most appropriate for how you need to be challenged in our college experience. We also ask that you take some health and wellness courses. Those health and wellness courses can be anything from competitive sports to one of our lacrosse coaches teaches a bread making class. Someone in our theater department teaches a stage combat class. Yoga, gardening, meditation, mindfulness, nutrition, lots of different options within that umbrella of health and wellness. Our students are also completing a senior individualized project, and they have to complete some seminars over the course of their college experience. Outside of that, students are taking a lot of electives. That frees up a lot of room in your college experience. So we have some students who come to K and they really want to double major. Other students who may not necessarily know until they get into their sophomore year that they're really interested in going into the medical field. Other students who decide that they want to double major in economics and Spanish, and they still want to be able to graduate in 2 years. We have the kind of college experience that makes it a lot easier for folks to do that. So let's also talk a little bit about experiential learning. So sometimes that can feel like a buzzword, but when we're talking about it at K, we're talking about all the opportunities that students have outside of just the traditional classroom, and also between the classroom and the community that helps build careers, give students a sense of community, help develop people's passions and interests. So that can be a wide range of things. I already mentioned the Center for Career and Professional Development. Also, the ARCA Center for Social Justice Leadership is a great resource on our campus. We are the only campus in the country that has a building specifically, a space specifically dedicated on our campus to social justice leadership. So that's a great resource for students who are really interested in bringing social justice work or human rights work into their college experience, regardless of what their major is. The ARCA Center can oftentimes give people resources for things like activism efforts, research opportunities, internship opportunities. We have some people who are going to end up doing their senior project, and that project will be done through the ARCA Center, through mentors at the ARCA Center. And we also have some community-based courses, great opportunities for students to learn some theoretical framework in a classroom, but then they'll go out into the community and apply some of what they learned in that classroom into the community and then come back to the classroom. So for example, we have a professor who teaches who teaches an urban policy and public planning course. That class, he's created an ID program in Kalamazoo County that gives access to basic services for low-income and homeless and displaced persons. He employs students to do some of that work. So that can be a really interesting resume item for folks who are interested in going into public affairs, public work, that sort of thing. We also have student-led curricular programs. Hey, Eleanor, can you tell us a little bit about some of the student organizations that you joined?
So the place I spend the most time isn't technically a student organization, but it is a student-run organization. It's actually through our Center for Civic Engagement, which does a lot of work with getting K students involved with the greater Kalamazoo community. And so that group is called Just Food Collective, and we do a lot of work to learn about food systems and food justice, environmental justice. So thinking about things like who has access to food, what kind of food do they have access to, and what does that look like in different locations, and then specifically what does that look like in Kalamazoo. So right now, that group, the members of that group are responsible for running our student food pantry and doing a lot of growing on campus in the hoop house, even though we aren't able to necessarily gather as a group. We're still making those spaces productive for our community. So I spent a lot of my time doing that in organization and do that. So I've learned like things like how to do a budget, like a lot of organizational pieces, just how to organize a space, how to organize people. So that really offered a leadership opportunity for me that I spend a lot of my non-class time doing.
Yeah, and I think one of the awesome things about that, Eleanor is definitely not an anomaly. I mean, she's an awesome person, but we also have students across our campus community who are finding similar opportunities to become a deeper member of their community, both the campus community and beyond, and to start thinking a little bit more intentionally about how they engage with their community. All these things can oftentimes become resume items. In the 8 years I've been working at Kalamazoo, I have yet to see somebody graduate without a full-page resume of real substantial stuff that they can present in an interview or to an employer. It's really important for us, along with the classroom experiences that students are getting, that students are also getting the opportunity to develop a little bit more in their career and in their community. So study abroad, definitely got to talk about that. It's a significant part of the college experience. About 70% of our students do either study abroad or a study away program. Those programs are in all 6 continents, and they are different lengths. So on average, students are usually going on a study abroad experience. It's the equivalent of about 2 terms on our campus. So that could be somewhere between like 4 to 6 months. We also have some folks who are going on study abroad programs for the entire academic year. And also some students who are going on shorter study abroad programs. I always encourage folks to think about study abroad at K as something that students really have to opt out of. It's not a requirement. You don't have to do study abroad in order to graduate. But it is a significant part of the college experience here. And so if you don't do study abroad, once you get into your junior year, it could be kind of quiet because all your friends are gone. There are also some really cool opportunities for folks on study abroad to go deeper into some of the things that interest them about the cultural experience that they're in. We do have some students who are doing research projects or developing research projects, their senior projects while they're on study abroad. We have other folks who are going on study abroad to develop language proficiency. Most of our study abroad programs involve homestays. So rather than just staying in a dormitory with English speaking students, we have a lot of our students who are going on study abroad programs where they're living with somebody who is a citizen of that country, living with that family. Oftentimes the language is something other than English. the student is encouraged to speak the language of that country at home. And there's also a program director at each site who is an employee of the college, who visits college pretty regularly. And they know a lot about the kind of college experience that we want our students to engage in and how important an immersive cultural experience is to our students. So we should also talk about study away. We love getting people off campus. Not all of our students necessarily need to be in another country for that international or intercultural experience. Sometimes folks are really interested in specific fields of interest. So say there could be folks listening right now who are really interested in performing arts. Then they might be looking at our New York Arts program. Other folks who are really interested in political science, they might be looking at the Washington Center. Other folks who are interested in the Newberry Institute because of its emphasis on humanities and history and giving them access to hundreds of thousands of historical documents. And then other folks who are interested in places like Oak Ridge National Laboratory, where they're working with federal research agencies, or the Philadelphia Center, which oftentimes offers a lot of business-related internships. So regardless of whether or not someone does study abroad or study away, we make sure that the scholarship that I'll tell you about in just a few minutes, that it follows you over to your study abroad site. We also make sure that the credits that you take at your study abroad or study away program transfer over to complete graduation at K. Last part of the K plan is independent scholarship. So like I mentioned before, there are lots of opportunities for folks to do some research experiences. Some folks who are doing some of those research experiences as working with the Arcus Center or with internships that they find in their sophomore year. We have other folks who are working alongside professors on tenure track projects. We have other folks who find their research projects when they're in study abroad. But all students, including Eleanor, in order to graduate, we're asking you to complete a senior individualized project in your senior year. You're going to be working really closely with a faculty advisor to design what that senior project is going to look like. And that senior project could be, it could take on the form of a lot of different things. So it could be a thesis, like a 40, 50-page research paper, with a works cited, something that you ship off to a graduate admissions committee when you start looking at graduate school experiences. The English department says if you want to come to Kalamazoo and write your novel, you can come here and do that. We've had people who've done performance pieces, people in our music department or theater department. So we've had folks who are able to develop research projects that exist between majors or between academic departments. One person a few years back did a senior individualized project that was centered on his interest in both psychology and theater. So he did a one-man stage performance on grieving and loss. Lots of different opportunities. I know that for some folks listening, sometimes the thought about doing a major research project as a requirement for graduation can be scary. Keep in mind that this is going to be a project that you would have been thinking about and you would have been primed to do over the course of your college experience. So we would have put a lot of experiences in front of you to give you the opportunity to start thinking about what you want to do. And so by the time you get into your senior year, you're going to have a faculty advisor and 3 years of experience behind you so that you'll be able to think really intentionally about what you want to research. When people graduate from Kalamazoo College, the majority of our students, well, within 6 months of graduation, they're actually looking for full-time employment. We are among the top 2% of US colleges that produce PhD candidates. We send a lot of people to graduate school experiences. About 80% of the people who apply to medical school from Kalamazoo College get into medical school. However, we also have usually 65% of our students when they graduate. When they first graduate, they go into full-time employment for about 2 or 3 years. and they explore that, like quote unquote, the real world. And then they go into a graduate school experience. However, 9 years after graduating, about 90% of our students would have either received a graduate degree or they would be enrolled in a graduate program. So we definitely have the kind of college experience that prepares people for that, because by the time you would have graduated, you would have had a full resume worth of experiences. We would have made sure that you have majored in something that you're really interested in, that you would have developed proficiency in a world language, you would have had a study abroad experience, and you would have had a research experience. So this is all part of making sure that you're prepared to go on to become more of a lifelong learner. So that being said, let's talk for a little bit about admission and financial aid. I'll talk a little bit about how we bring people into our campus community. So that includes talking about application deadlines, scholarships and financial aid, and also how we look at applications. So really important to note, we are Common Application exclusive. So if you are already working on the Common Application, that's great. Bear in mind that we do not charge an application fee. It literally costs you nothing to find out if you are going to be invited into Kalamazoo College. And I think especially if you're already applying to other folks in Common Application, other colleges and universities, never hurts to go ahead and submit that application to us as well. November 1st is coming up. That's when our first application deadline hits. That's when we have both early action and early decision. A quick note about early decision first. You note that it says in parentheses it's a binding decision. So I always like to add on to that early decision is a family decision. If you love K, if you find out that there really isn't another college experience that's like what we offer, and you just really want to lock down your interest in Kalamazoo, and you want to end your college search with Kalamazoo, if we're your first choice, early decision is a great fit. You can apply by November 1st. We will make the assumption that if we admit you, then if we admit you under early decision, then we're going to see you in the fall. I should also point out, obviously, that is a big decision for a lot of students to make, and especially for those students who I assume are also making that with families. Early action also hits on November 1st. That is a great opportunity for folks to make non-binding decisions about where they want to apply to college. So under early action, that deadline's also November 1st. It's not binding. You don't have to worry about being locked into one college experience. You can take a look at our admission offer, take a look at our financial aid packet, and then compare us to other schools, and then make a final decision on May 1st. I should also point out that it says here under early action that the deadline is November 1st and that the response date is December 20th. I can pretty much guarantee you that if you send a completed application to us by the November 1st deadline, there is a strong possibility we could be getting back to you much earlier than that. Last year, we sent out our first round of decisions before Thanksgiving. I am almost positive that, especially as we continue to streamline our evaluation process, we're going to have some folks who are going to find out even earlier than that they're invited to become part of our campus community. Let's talk for a little bit about what we look for when we're looking at students and considering whether to invite them into our campus community. First things first, really important to note, we have been test optional since 2015. That test optional does not have quotation marks around it. It's not a trick. It's not something that we're just trying for this year. Here at Kalamazoo, we don't believe your test scores are a great indicator of how successful you're going to be as a member of our campus community. So if you decide not to send your test scores into us, we can still consider your application complete. We spend most of our time taking a look at other parts of your application. So we take a look at your grades and your progress through high school. It says on here, average GPA is 2.9. Bear in mind that when we say average, that means all the people who make well above a 3.9 GPA. and they're still perfectly admissible, and all the folks who make well below 3.9 GPA. Well, not well below, but they make below a 3.9 GPA, and we could still make a really easy argument for admission for those students. We're oftentimes balancing your grades and your GPA alongside your curriculum. So we're looking at those folks who are taking AP courses, AP or IB courses. Some folks are also doing dual enrollment at colleges. We consider that as well. When we look at the common application, I know I spend a lot of time to look specifically at your essay. So I like finding out what kind of stories people have to share about how they see their world, what they've learned over the course of high school, what their expectations are from a college experience, what their values are, what their interests are, weird hobbies, fun, quirky facts about themselves. Well, I also like to see co-curricular activities. Now, this is something where I always encourage families to sit down together as a pre-writing activity and put together a list of everything that you've done over the course of high school. I'm still running into a lot of students who forget particular aspects of their college experience, of their high school experience. So might have forgotten that when they were a member of National Honor Society, maybe you were president of National Honor Society. Maybe there were specific volunteer experiences that you did. Maybe if you played a sport, if you held a leadership position, if your team won state championship, that's stuff that we really want to know. We want to find out some of those things that make you really stellar outside of the classroom and between the classroom experience and your community. We also look for letters of recommendation from your counselor and from your teacher. If it turns out that we're getting really close to one of our application deadlines and those recommendation letters aren't in yet, we really encourage folks to just give us a call, reach out to us. There are definitely some ways that we can work with you to make sure that we're still able to review you for admission to K. So got to talk for a little bit about scholarships and financial aid. All students who apply to Kalamazoo are considered for financial aid and a scholarship. That usually starts with a merit-based scholarship. That merit-based scholarship, the general one that we offer students is called Lux Esto. Students are automatically reviewed for it, and the range of that scholarship is usually somewhere between $21,000 to $35,000 a year. It's renewed each year for up to 4 years. Again, you'll notice that we did not put test scores on here, so we do not need to take a look at your test scores to determine what your determine what the size of your merit scholarship is going to be. It's going to be totally based off of your GPA, your curriculum in high school, and the essay that you write for us. Now, I also coordinate for the college a music and theater scholarship program. So that could be an additional $5,000 a year, renewed each year for up to 4 years. And that just requires you to submit a performing arts resume to us and an audition piece to be reviewed by our performing arts faculty, either in music or theater. If you have some more questions about that, definitely feel free to reach out to me and let me know. We also have some need-based financial aid. So I always encourage folks, October 1st, the application for the FAFSA became available. I always encourage folks, even if you think you're not going to get financial aid, go ahead and submit the FAFSA to us anyway. Give us a chance to see what we can make happen for you as far as affordability. Quick note: if there are international students who are watching, we do have some funding for international students. It's not a ton, but we do ask that folks who are identified as international students that they complete our financial student aid form for international students. We have a separate one that the college offers. And then we can put together a financial aid package for you as well. So for our students, sometimes in order to make Kalamazoo College affordable, we ask them to take out loans, student loans. Student loans are oftentimes a really scary thing for a lot of families to consider as part of their college education experience for very good reasons. On average, the Average student at Kalamazoo College takes out a little bit under $28,000 in student loans. But we wouldn't ask you to make that investment in the college if we didn't think that we were going to put you into a college experience where once you graduate, you can pay that back. Bear in mind, from a few slides before, about 92, 91, 92% of our students are within 6 months of graduation. If they're looking for a job, they found one. And these aren't like minimum wage jobs. These are jobs where students are gainfully employed and they're able to pay their loans back. We also have a loan default rate of 0. So that means that when our students graduate, whatever they're doing, whether they're deferring to because they're in graduate school or they're in full-time employment, they actually can pay those loans back. So we want to keep this conversation going. We want you to consider looking for opportunities to connect with us. So we do have some, hopefully when we get to the point where we can all safely gather, individual campus visits are a really cool thing. Right now we're offering on-campus tours. We also experimented with an in-person open house, but at this point, the college is still going 100% virtual learning. So keep in mind that that is going to be a really unique way of exploring the campus, but we still want you to have a student-led tour. We still want you to connect with us individually as admission counselors. So that's a really important part that we want folks to consider as they continue throughout their college search. So we also are looking at college fairs and interviews. Some of our admission team could possibly be looking at your high school, visiting your high school. Please check in with us if we check in with you. If we check in with you at your high school, we would love to connect with you and talk to you a little bit more about how to make Kalamazoo College work for you. So that being said, it looks like I am kind of at the end of my presentation, but I want to take some questions for folks if we have some questions floating around out there. I see that we have a few, and let's take a look at what we have here. All right, so we have a question about how the study abroad during junior year work with student athletes. That's a great question. I know, especially for our athletic recruits, folks who come to Kalamazoo College, even as athletic recruits, they're also really excited about going to study abroad, and our coaches know that. So that's usually a conversation that a student will have with a coach to find the right study abroad program that's the best fit for them. But if a student is really interested in going on study abroad, we are going to make sure that that happens. And we're also going to make sure that you're able to find the right balance between study abroad and your participation in a team. So the other question, so it's another question about can a Kalamazoo student take beginning level graduate classes at Western Michigan while studying at Kalamazoo? That's an interesting question. So technically, no, but we do have a couple of agreements with Western Michigan for some of their graduate programs. So we have a 4+1 program. A student will earn their degree at Kalamazoo College, and then they'll spend a year in graduate school over at Western. So definitely feel free at your convenience to Google 4+1 Western Michigan Kalamazoo College. You can see some of those agreements that we have. We also work really closely with Western's medical school program. So under that program, students will actually apply in their junior year, and then they'll get accepted into Western's medical school in their junior year of college. And then after they graduate from K, they'll just go directly over to Western and they'll start the medical school program there. Let's see, what percentage of the class answered the survey? So there's a question here about what percentage of, I'm assuming, our graduating class answered the survey about first destinations, about where people go once they graduate. I believe about 80, somewhere between 80–85% of our students typically answer those surveys. I am not 100% sure, but I will try to make sure I get a definite answer to you on that. And then there's another question about, can a student use Python or Java to fulfill the world language requirement? To my knowledge, no. We are actually looking at for students to complete one of the world languages that the college offers. But like Eleanor said, if you complete your college experience, I'm sorry, if you complete your the entrance exam for a world language and you test out of it, then we give you that opportunity to come to K and not have to take language courses. That's usually the exception to the rule. And in those cases, Eleanor is really an exceptional person. So let's see. If there are other questions, definitely feel free to forward them to us. Other than that, I think those are all the questions that I see here in our queue right now. I always encourage folks to take a look at us on social media. We are available both on Instagram and Twitter. So feel free to check us out for updates about the college and updates about the admission program. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. When you go to close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 4-question survey, and we'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this was just one of many different sessions being hosted, so be sure to check out the full sign up and sign up for additional sessions. In about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording, as well as all of the other sessions recordings online at the same website where you registered. So, thank you all. Bye now.
Everybody.